Have you ever felt like you're not technical enough to actually lead a project? What if I told you that's a myth from holding you back from your true potential? You know how we do. In today's episode, we are going to shatter, and I do mean shatter. I don't know why I have to do the baseball, that belief to show you why leadership, collaboration, and most of all, transparency and not coding is the real key to project success. Point number one, addressing common misconceptions. Again, addressing common misconceptions. What happens a lot of times is non technical PMs are often seen as unqualified for technical projects. But see, what we fail to realize is their ability to focus on leadership, organization, and collaboration often leads to better outcomes. Now, I know someone in the comments or someone may send me a message and say, so so you're saying a technical PM would be better than a non-technical PM on a particular project? No, what I am saying is a lot of times what tends to happen is that someone that is non-technical can still lead a technical project because see, what we fail to realize is that this is a team. A project manager is not a one man, one woman, one person show. It is a collective group and we are leading or we are moving forward. So here's my actionable tip. Build credibility by showcasing your leadership directly and how it contributes to the meeting the project milestones and delivering results. Point number two, bridging business goals with technical execution. Listen, non-technical PMs excel at aligning technical efforts with overarching business goals. See, their role ensures that the deliverables meet organizational needs. Well, you think, ED, how can a non-technical PM align on technical efforts? See, one thing that I love that PMBOK did for us, they put together this document, which is part of my actionable tip, is a project charter. See, a project charter outlines the business objectives, the technical deliverables, key success metrics, and what tends to happen if you do this properly, this is a document that you can go back and reference. Now, there will be changes and you never update your project charter. Just additional side note after you got signed off or authorized by the project sponsor. However, it is a good document to be able to reference to understand, hey, where we're going. Now, if we pivot, of course, we'll make those adjustments on our project management plan, but not our project charter. So again, non-technical PMs excel at the overarching business goals. Point number three, the versatility of a non-technical PM. See, non-technical PMs excel in communication, team leadership, as well as stakeholder management. So you have to understand, family, I would rather have a non-technical PM than a technical PM on certain projects. And the reason why is that a technical PM is they will get excited about the technical things that we're working on, and they'll miss the opportunity to take advantage of their communication, take advantage of their leadership and how they lead stakeholders. Now, not every technical PM does this. I remember when I first got into space in IT, and I was not technical at all. But as I became more technical, I realized that really my value wasn't on the technical aspect. It was more valuable for me to collaborate and for me to be a leader, communicate effectively, manage stakeholders. Because what you will see, and I know I'm dragging this out, but I really want you to understand this, family, is that what you will see is if you're super technical and you're working with your subject matter expert, you guys may start clashing. There's nothing wrong of having an overarching understanding, but you want your SME to be able to subject matter expert to be able to have the ability to make decisions. And yeah, you can ask questions. Why are you going that way? Why are you doing this? But this is the reason why they're on the team. This is why when I started off today's episode, I said, we are not alone. We do not lead this a project by ourselves. They may not, even though you may not have the technical expertise, but their ability to connect and align diverse groups makes them indispensable on complex projects. Here's my actionable tip. Schedule regular alignment meetings with both technical and non-technical stakeholders to ensure shared understanding as well as addressing any gaps early. Point number five, the ability to read the room. As a project manager, especially a non-technical project manager, you have to understand the unspoken issues. You have to be able to look and, most of all, have the ability to adapt your leadership to the style, to the team that you're working with. Sometimes you may have to be that micromanager. And if you've ever watched me or listened to me long enough, you know how I feel about micromanagement. I do not believe that is a path, a long-term path. I do believe it could be a short-term, meaning just to make sure that the team is up to speed. But I would rather prefer coaching versus having to micromanage, because when you have to micromanage, then the person you are micromanage it takes away their ability to have critical thinking. It takes away their ability to have the confidence to be able to move forward. In other words, you are basically making it tougher for that person to have the success that they need. However, I do believe in short-term micromanagement to a point to get them up to speed. But then after that, you have to allow them to make the mistakes and things of that nature. So a non-technical PM must understand how to navigate these team dynamics as well as the unspoken issues. And then most of all, like I said before, adapting their leadership styles. Here's my actionable tip. Watch for nonverbal cues in meetings and address any hesitation or concerns directly to maintain for team cohesiveness, as well as if you do not work on site, let's say you're remote. When you're in meetings, you need to see who's doing the majority of the talking and who's doing no talking at all. And one of the tips, and I've shared one of these tips with you before, is if you notice meeting after meeting, I say after the second meeting, there's only one person always doing all the talking, start calling on other people in the meeting, because you'll be shocked. And this has happened to me so many times when I've done this. When you call on someone, and I'm speaking more virtual, they'll be able to, and I will sometimes, they'll answer the question and you'll be like, why you didn't come off mute and say that earlier? However, they just may be one of those resources that they're leaning on the person that's speaking, even though they may have the answer, this person already volunteered to speak, and that's why it is what it is. So my recommendation again, family, is call on these resources that are not coming off mute when you're having a meeting. Point number six, translating technical jargon. Again, translating technical jargon. I remember when I was first IT project manager, I was so excited. And then I met with the subject matter expert. And I'm sorry, man, this is so funny to me because we both laugh about it to this day. We sat down and he just starts going over all this technical stuff. And he could just see it in my face that I'm like, what are you talking about here? Yeah, so the firewall we're going to put, and then we're going to put an ASA wrap in. And I'm like, what? And so finally, that's what I really did. I just like, what are you talking about? And he's, oh, you're not technical. You don't know. I said, no, I said, that's what we got you for. So I'm willing to be coached and learn. And that's another thing, family. I'll say that for another point. But, and what I was able to do, I said, I need you just to translate this for me so I can understand what it means, so I can communicate effectively. So non-technical PMs bridge the gap between technical teams and business stakeholders. And people that are super technical, they will have a tendency to talk their language, which you would expect. However, you have to convince them to say, hey, break it down into layman's terms, break it down in ED terms. How do I get from point A to point B? Because this is going to help when we're leading a complex project more accessible, first of all, to the information, and people can interpret the information better. Here's my actionable tip. Develop a glossary of terms. This is exactly what I did dealing with this guy. I developed a glossary of key terms for the project. And I also shared these with the stakeholder. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to create a consistent understanding. A lot of times in our roles, we'll have an opportunity. I wouldn't say that. We more or less use a lot of acronyms. If you worked in any organization, there would be so many acronyms to a point. Sometimes you forget what that actual acronym stands for. So it's important to create a small glossary or some type of a cheat sheet. One of the first things that I do when I come into an organization, I start creating a cheat sheet with links, with terminology, with resources that I could count on. And the reason why I do that is because when somebody gives me the information once, I want them to know that I respected their time enough to actually document it. All right, point number seven, building trust through transparency. Again, building trust through transparency. See, non-technical PMs often succeed because of their ability to maintain open and honest communication with stakeholders. See, family, don't get in there and try to fake it until you make it, because the person that is technical, they'll get you. Trust me, I've watched plenty of non-technical PMs who claim they were technical and they ran against a guy or a woman that was super technical. They knew their stuff inside and out, and they would ask them questions and they're like, and it was like a deer in headlight. Just be upfront and be honest. And like I said, when I was telling you the story of the guy that when he sat down and started giving me all of this technical jargon and I was just clueless. He respected at the end of that conversation, he said, I respect you because you didn't try to fake it. You were very upfront with me and say, hey, I don't understand the information, but I'm willing to learn. And that's another thing we have to keep in mind. So keep an honest communication with all stakeholders. Here's my actionable tip. Share progress, updates, risks, and mitigation plans openly with all stakeholders during weekly status meeting. Point number 8, I recommend advocating for simplicity. Again, advocating for simplicity. What does that mean? Non-technical PMs challenge overly complex solution and encourage streamlined approaches to save time and resources. So you will have, through my career, I've come across people that will overcomplicate a simple solution. They will make you fill out 13 different tickets when we could have just used one ticket to solve everything else. They will send email after email when we could have just gotten on a call and recapped the meeting and we all signed off and agreed. So we have to find ways to take something that allegedly is so complex to really boil it down that is simplistic, that like I should be able to talk to anyone. I should be able to go on the street and break this down to a certain aspect. Now, there may be pieces that you can't break down all the way, but the pieces that you can, break those down. Matter of fact, here's my actionable tip. Host a simplification review at the end of each project phase to identify any unnecessary complexity. And family, before I go to my transformational remarks, I want to give you another tip. One of the things as non-technical project managers, you have to understand that this will be a journey. It will be a journey by your willingness to develop your understanding of technical things. I say at minimum, you want to have a very high level of some of the technical things, especially if you're working in IT as an IT project manager, of course, having the understanding of what a firewall is, what's a router, what else can I think of? What is on-prem versus in cloud? Understanding just networking, but not networking as you are a network engineer, but just understanding at a very high level. So that's my actionable tip, my tip for you. Here's my 3 transformational remarks. Number 1, address common misconception. Build credibility by showcasing how your leadership directly contributes to meeting project milestones and delivering results. Number 2, advocate for simplicity. Like I said, hosting a simplification review at the end of each project phase to identify unnecessary complexities. The ability to simplify something that is super complex will allow you, it will give you a better opportunity when you're in front of stakeholders or if you're in front of your executives to be able to have that conversation. And the last and final one that I think is one of the most important out of all these 3 is the ability to read the room. Having the ability to watch for nonverbal cues in meetings and address any hesitation or concerns directly to maintain team cohesiveness. And on top of that, I want to remind you, the ability, if you are virtual, to call on people that are on your call. Family, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I really wanted to break down the myth that if you're not technical, you couldn't lead a technical project, because the just of everything, or the foundation of today's episode, is this is why you have a team. You have a team for support. And most of the time, every project that I've led, I've always had a subject matter expert. This person is the book. This person is the one that I should be able to go to if someone throws something at me technical that I'm unable to decipher, that I can work with this resource and they're able to break it down and or speak up for me and on my behalf to explain what the actual ask is. I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, hey, look, that just simply means Ed.